Hey everybody out there, as the shirt says, this is the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating just one meal a day. Well, today I want to do a video entitled Why I Eat What I Want. I'm going to delve into my eating philosophy on this way of eating, this way of life. I'm going to go deeper than the I have no known food allergies. There are 7 points and 7 reasons of why I eat what I want on this diet. I've been asked many times by different people, how come you're not on the keto diet, which is usually recommended for something like this? Or how come you're not plant-based, vegan, solely whole foods? Well, there's a whole process, there's a whole reasoning behind that. And I'm hoping by sharing that with you today that you'll get a little bit of an insight as to why I eat what I want, why I pick the foods that I do, and hopefully it can enrich your OMAD practice as well. I'm going to get right into this. So the number one reason why I eat what I want is that many people tend to base their food choices on whatever the latest food studies are. And the problem with that is that many of the food studies that are done are flawed. I'm not saying that I know more than a food scientist or that I'm the smartest guy when it comes to food on the planet, but if you read the studies that they pull these articles from, most of these studies are what are called observational studies. It makes them flawed at best, and at the worst, it makes them pretty much worthless as far as relying on them to make an appropriate choice for what you should be eating every single day. They are predominantly observational studies, and that means that they rely mostly on correlated data that has been submitted from surveys where people have to try and remember exactly what they've been eating over the past year, 2 years, 10 years, 40 years. And it's done by survey, and then they also submit either on the spot or they just also by survey submit their some information about their past health patterns. And from there, it is kind of correlated, and they come up with some generalizations, and that is their study. And after that, news outlets will take these studies and they turn it into these major news stories. You see them all the time on TV, usually almost every night, either your local or national news show around 6 or 6:30, whenever they have it on, will have some new health scare or some new food you should either be adding to your list or subtracting to it. The problem is that correlation does not prove causation. It's very unreliable. And it can be very confusing. That's why one week you'll have them talking about how dangerous eggs are, and then the next week they're the newest health food. They do it the same thing with coffee. They've done it with wine. They do it with diets as well. At first it was low carb, high fat is the way to go, and then it was no, it's got to be more carbs, almost no fat, and plant-based vegan. And they'll go back and forth, and everybody puts up a study saying, oh no, my way is the right way. Well, you could produce a study that proves almost anything. So where do we go? So with that, because of all of that, I don't use food studies to guide me and tell me that I should or shouldn't eat this. I go by what is. Again, I try to always stick, and I've mentioned on this channel before, I stick with real food whenever possible, severely limit the amount of processed and junk foods that I eat. And if I'm going to at least have junk food or a little snack or a treat or something like that, well, I don't really have snacks anymore, but if I have a dessert that is like worked into my OMAD meal, then what I'll do is I'll try to make it myself homemade, or at least get it from someone that has made it from home, as opposed to just getting a pack of Ho-Hos and Oreos and having a couple of Oreos for dessert. It's a lot better tasting. It's you tend to eat less, and it satisfies you more. But I throw the studies out. They are pretty much worthless, and they are so confusing that they will cause so many people to stop taking action and doing what is right, which is, at least eating less often and eating real food. Those are the main things. The whether you're vegan, whether you're adding eggs, whether you're low carb, high fat, you can find people on both sides of the aisle, and any side of the aisle, who have used those diets, even the standard American diet, and have been able to lose weight or get their health in order. So, just because you have a study saying this one thing is the way to go, I don't tend to follow it. So that's number one. Number two, I eat what I want because I never feel deprived, or I never feel like I'm on a diet. I got some siren activity here today. Sorry about that. And when I say that, I've said another thing I've mentioned before on this channel is that, yes, it is a diet in the sense that I'm cutting back. I'm going periods of time where I may even be slightly hungry. I'm not just eating free will and eating whatever I want every single day. I have a set time that I can eat, but I don't have to do any of these weird versions of the food that I like the best. If I want to have pasta, I could have regular pasta and not either whole wheat pasta or high protein pasta, or zoodles that are made from zucchini. If I want to have a burger, I could have a nice high fat beef burger as opposed to maybe a turkey burger or some other version of it, and I can have it on a bun if I want. It doesn't have to be on a lettuce wrap. If I want a piece of dessert, like a cake or something like that, it doesn't have to be made with almond flour and completely gluten-free, egg-free, dairy-free, nut-free, and everything else. In other words, that's hard. I've done that before, and I've done those versions before, and they're extremely hard to stick to. They're very expensive, and it's very inflexible, and you really do feel like you're on a diet. So I eat. That is another reason why I eat what I want. Is I don't feel why I do that, and I've stuck to this OMAD plan for almost 2 years now. I don't feel like I'm depriving myself, and I don't feel like I'm on a traditional diet. Number three, long-term survival is easy when you can make a meal out of almost anything. I did a video on this channel entitled Prepping that was basically about when the crap hits the fan. And recently I just watched a documentary about World War II and a naval battle in Okinawa, and it was a very, very deadly battle. I think 150,000 Okinawans died, which was like a third of their population. And during the battle, food was very, very scarce, and it really sort of changed and directed the type of food that they've eaten since that time. They're now very, very high carbohydrate, a lot of rice, out of sweet potatoes in their diet, and very little protein. And everyone in the South everyone in the West here will be saying, oh, no, that's too many carbohydrates. You got to have your protein. And yet they enjoy some of the longest lifespans on the planet. And I'm not saying that everybody has to switch over to exactly what the Okinawans are eating, but what I'm saying is they had a catastrophe happen in their environment, and they adapted, and they were able. Those who survived that catastrophe, they adapted and were able to survive. When the crap hits the fan, if you're strict keto and meat is scarce or too expensive to get, and again, a catastrophe could be weather related, economic related, it could be a war, it could be drought, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're flexible enough, then you will survive. And it's a very grim thing to think about. And in America, we've been pretty lucky in that we don't have the war conflicts and a lot of the droughts and things that other countries have to deal with almost on a yearly basis. But it wasn't too long ago that the romaine lettuce crop was bad, and they had to, in this country, and we had to get rid of almost all of the romaine lettuce. And of course, the price of and availability of all of the other versions of lettuces in the store went skyrocketing, and it was almost impossible to get. So if you're very much a whole food, plant-based diet, and the majority of your meals have lettuce in them, and you were pretty much, out of luck in that instance. So, again, I'm not saying that I survive and make meals out of junk food. I definitely don't make meals out of that, but you can survive if you're able to adapt And that's what OMAD teaches. And it also teaches you to be able to go periods of time without always having to consume something. And so, if there's ever a catastrophe or something happens, and you're already on this plan of eating 6 meals a day, and you have to eat 1 meal a day, or maybe 1 meal every other day because of whatever is going on in your area, you're going to have the hardest time. As I said in the video on the channel, which you should check out, start prepping now if you're still on the fence about this, and be prepared for anything that could happen. The number 4 reason why I eat what I want is if you eliminate a food group, then you lose the ability to digest it when you reintroduce it. I learned this fact when I tried because I was doing the paleo diet for a little while, and I did the Whole 30 challenge, and I've heard this from other people who've done that challenge too. The Whole 30, not even really a diet, it's more of a challenge, is you basically go on a paleo diet, a very strict paleo diet for 30 days, and then you slowly start reintroducing the foods that you used to eat. You do lose weight. Almost everybody loses weight, and it only lasts for 30 days, but it's very hard. It can be pretty expensive. It's very prep heavy. And, after you are done with the diet, or that 30 days, you start reintroducing some of these foods, and what people are finding is that they were having digestive issues. Well, that's because you haven't digested gluten in a month, and the microbes in your gut that normally would be there to help break that down if you regularly consume something with gluten or have probably died off and gone away, so it's now caused upset. The same thing that when people reintroduce other grains or beans and stuff like that, things that wouldn't have been on the whole foods diet. Not everybody has that problem, but I know that when I had my first couple slices of bread when I was finished with the paleo diet, I had some real stomach pains and some real stomach issues, and I thought, oh man, I must be gluten free and I must have celiac or something. And of course I didn't. It's just that's what had happened. But if I could make a meal, if I eat what I want and I can make a meal out of various things, then I won't have that issue. The number 5 reason I eat what I want is food fundamentalism is hard to maintain for life. The food fundamentalists out there are the ones that say you pretty much have to live like a monk. You can't have any fun with your food. It's just for fuel, and they attack eating as if it is, as if they are part of this fundamentalist religion, and that is great, and a lot of people do that. I see a lot of people when they start a diet, they're gung ho. I'm gonna be in the gym every day for 2 hours, and I'm gonna eat this strict meal, 6 small meals a day, and I'll do all of this meal prep ahead of time. And you can keep that going for a little while, but most people hit a wall, and they hit it hard, and they realize that this is a lot of work to be able to keep all of this up, this charade up, for the rest of my life. And eating what I want, I don't have to worry about that food fundamentalism. I'm flexible, and I can fit into any social or private situation. If I'm in an area when I normally would have my meal and there's nothing around, I'm already used to fasting, I'm okay. I can go a little bit longer. Or if I'm out in a social situation and it's not quite time for me to eat normally, if I choose to eat, great, then that could be my meal for the day. Or I could choose not to, and you have that detachment from the craving of I have to eat something while I'm with this person. So that is another thing to think about too, that food fundamentalism, it's really hard to be that strict. Some people can, and that's great for them, but you by doing this, I've been able to prove, at least to myself, that I don't need to be a food fundamentalist, that I could have flexibility and have some creativity and fun with what I eat. The number 6 reason why I eat what I want is this yin and yang aspect of life, the creative and destructive aspect of life. I made this example before on here. We can all agree that things like strawberries are very healthy foods, loaded with antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. But if you eat a diet consisting of only strawberries, you're going to have some deficiencies, and you're probably going to end up sick, on top of many other things that'll go wrong. uh, that's it. A lot of people will say, they'll talk about this one food and all of the health benefits, and then somebody come out and usually in an opposing diet plan will say, oh no, you can't have any of that because it causes this, and this. I don't think there's any perfect food out there. And even if there were, I think we've lost touch with how most of our food would have been raised so that it could be near perfect. Most of our food is genetically modified in some way. It's got pesticides. We use commercial fertilizers. There's a lot of factory farms that change the way things are done. I don't think there's any real perfect food out there. And yes, almost all of the food that we eat, it's for some degree causes inflammation in our body, which is something that we want to keep at a low level. So I eat what I want. I accept that. I choose the food that I like. I eat what I want, and I deal with the healing, with the inflammation, by making sure I have enough time in between meals for my body that my normal numbers and levels go where they need to go and be where they need to be, and let the inflammation go, let my blood sugar levels go down to where they normally. In other words, I allow through time my body to do its natural processes as opposed to just shoving more food in and hoping that I find the best diet. It's like, it's like in America, we have this thing where it's like if one is good, then 15 must be better, and that's just how we approach things. And sometimes it's best to just take the slow approach and let your body do what it's supposed to do and not just keep shoving food in all the time. But you have to realize that most of our food in our food system is not perfect. It is what it is. And, we have to deal with that accordingly. And the number seven reason why I eat what I want is that good health and longevity is not all about the food. There are many other factors. Yes, food plays an important part, particularly in weight gain, but it's not the only factor. There's hormones, there's hereditary factors and genes, there's environmental factors. Stress and cortisol levels play a big role in your overall health. Whether or not you're active, whether or not you're a drinker and a smoker, or engaging in some, somewhat dangerous activities in either your vocation or your private life. Food is not the only thing that most people approach. That's the thing with veganism and keto and a lot of these other diets that I'm against is that they approach it as if, well, I just needed to find the perfect way of eating and then I'll pretty much be disease free and live forever. I'm sorry to tell you folks, but that's just not going to happen. We know we don't live forever. Yes, you should have a high quality of life, and you should maintain weight at a certain level, based on your age and your height. There are different approaches to doing that. I just happen to think that eating one meal a day is probably the best approach for that. And you have to be able to look at the big picture and realize that food is not the only thing in the equation. Are you getting enough sleep? Are your hormones working well? Are you drinking and smoking? Have you quit them? Which you should be doing. Are you getting too much caffeine? Are you staying up too late? There are, again, on top of all the other things that I've mentioned, there's so many factors. And yes, improve your diet. Make great choices every single day. Make as best of a choice as you can. But also make other good choices in your life too for the total picture. And go to your doctor regularly and talk to your doctor and make sure that you're on the right path. And that is how you get longevity. That is how you maintain really good health for your life, not just solely by the food choices that you make. Well, I hope this was enlightening to you guys. I'd like to hear from you to see why you eat the diet that you do and what results that you've been getting. I always love to hear about your results and your experience with OMAD. I hope this video was helpful, and all of my other videos for that matter. I have more stuff coming out very soon. Thank you for hanging in there with me today, but that's going to be it. I hope you guys are having a very happy week, a very happy OMAD, and be well.